All right, good afternoon. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to say a few words about the OTS, the Office of Tax Simplifications project, on the competitiveness of UK tax administration. Now, many of you in the room will already be familiar with the OTS, but not everybody. So just to recap, the office was established by the coalition government in 2010 as an independent office, although we are hosted by HM Treasury. The staffing varies, but invariably we actually have less than 6 full-time equivalents, with a mix of people from HMRC or Treasury and the private sector. Quite a wide number of people, but often doing like I do 2 days a week to help out. Now, the first report the OTS did was a review of tax reliefs, and they very patiently counted 1,042 tax reliefs, and they looked at 155 in detail, and about 48, I think, have actually been abolished. Now, this list was looked at again recently, and there's another 134 have come along for us to look at. But I mean, it's a good statistic, but I think it does illustrate that there is obviously a tension here between simplification and competitiveness, because many of the new reliefs have been introduced with a view to making the system competitive. So we do need to be mindful of that. Other reports that the OTS have done focused on small business taxation, pensioner taxation, share schemes, partnerships, and employee benefits. We're currently looking at termination payments and accommodation provided by employers, and a rather more academic exercise to try and come up with a complexity index, which is quite an interesting idea. But what is very encouraging for us is that many of the suggestions from our reports, they either have already or are now being taken forward as legislation or consultation, and David's support in helping us with this really is appreciated. But my focus today is on the competitiveness project. And I think we can start by saying, why have we been asked to do this? It's a slightly different project for the OTS to do. And I think, as is clear from what other speakers have said, competitiveness is very important. It's taken very seriously by the government, and it's very important to business. And there's plenty of evidence that the UK is performing very well. But we can't stand still, and there is a willingness and a keenness on the part of ministers to listen to ideas and consider change. So at the OTS, we're going forward on 2 fronts. First of all, we have the World Bank review of doing business, and I don't know how familiar people will be with that report, but that concentrates on how competitive, much broader than tax, a country is in terms of doing business. And the relevant sections for us are the ease of starting up a business, and that's, can it be made more simple, can it be quicker? And also there's an element about paying taxes. Now, within paying taxes, the rate is important. Unfortunately, when it comes to ranking, this includes national insurance contributions. So the big drop in corporation tax has been partly offset by an increase in national insurance contributions. Another element is how easy it is to pay your taxes. And the methodology adopted is if it's electronic, if it can be done electronically, it counts as 1. So the UK scores 8 because there are 8 business taxes in the report. I think abolishing a tax is probably going a bit outside our remit on this one. So I don't think there's much we can do. The UK does as well as it can be. So where we're really looking is at the other element. How easy is it to calculate your tax liability, file a return, and then make the payment? So the UK does perform well already. We're currently ranking 14th in the last report out of 189 countries, 2nd in the G7, and I think 4th in the G20. So how do we move that up in that section? As I say, it is only one section, but it is the most relevant for taxes. I also think it's worth saying that the World Bank report is a valuable place to start, but it does have some limitations. And of course, it is only one measure of competitiveness, and we've heard from Jane of other surveys. And perhaps one of the most challenging things is that it is based on a hypothetical and fairly simple company. It's a domestic company with wholly local sales and wholly taxable for VAT. So we want to look much wider than this, at large and small businesses, domestic and international, and outbound and inbound. And as well as how can we make the system, the administration, as competitive as possible for the big companies, our existing champions, if you like, how can we encourage the next generation that is coming through from the smaller business sector? So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at what's been done so far and what is in hand. We'll also look, and I think this is an interesting aspect of our work, particularly in the smaller business sector, is how widely are these initiatives known and understood and taken advantage of. We'll also ask what more can be done. If there's any suggestions, our coffee break and afterwards, be very pleased to hear from you. Our main focus is on the administration of corporation tax, pay-as-you-earn and VAT, employment taxes generally. But we are looking at other taxes. Business rates crops up a lot, especially from the smaller sector. We're also looking, what do our competitors do well? Singapore, Canada, Denmark, Ireland all score well. And also, how will digital transformation at HMRC help? That's a big influence, I think, potentially. So we published some initial thoughts alongside the budget, and I won't go through those, but the document can be found on our website, and I'd be very happy to give the web link. But one thing that has come up for comment is around HMRC guidance and help. The CRM model is very well appreciated, and I think one of the challenges that we're going to have to put, as we see coming through from smaller businesses, is how do we balance the ability to help smaller businesses, balance that with resources, and also getting maybe not a CRM for every company, but something that they are happy with. And the thing that keeps coming back is we want a single point of contact, somebody who understands us. So that's one challenge. So what we're doing now is we're calling for views and evidence. We've got questions, what the businesses find the most difficult, why, what changes in the recent past have been good or bad, how could the computation be made easier, do all the numerous CT adjustments that we make and love and have done for time immemorial, do we need them all now? And what about other taxes and help from HMRC? So if that's all too difficult, and there are a lot of you in the room here actually, and what we often do is say, well, if you've got one idea, one big idea to improve competitiveness through making the tax sector simpler. So anybody who's bursting to come forward with one idea, please let me know. So we would like to hear from you. I've got plenty of business cards, so anybody who's interested in following this up in detail, please let me know. Thank you.